Alrighty guys, welcome back to the podcast, back to Game and Compute. So, yeah, as far as money psychology, one thing I'm kind of working with this idea of, realistically, how hard is it to make a lot of money? Realistically, let's be real. Because there are jobs that pay well, and they pay well with limited I'm gonna actually start driving now. Okay. I'm leaving the beach. Sorry, that was bad timing. I probably should have not started while I was just barely starting to record, but I just realized, I was like, I don't really want to sit here too much longer. It's getting warm. I got here during the cooler part of the day, just before 10 a.m. But anyways, when it comes to money psychology, I was thinking about it the other day, and I didn't record a money psychology episode yesterday, but yeah, I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, realistically, how hard is it to get a job that pays well, right? Now, things to consider, there might be a field that a person might not be motivated to go into, or a type of work that somebody doesn't really want to maybe actively do, right? So these are realities, for example, working as an electrician and getting certain other, even upgraded certifications from there, a person can be set, it's good work. Doesn't take ages in school. Not everybody wants to do that job, I'm not even, for me, it's kind of hard for me to tell, what is considered prestigious. Because for me, I'm just like, dude, just get the job done, If you are able to reach your financial goals, for me, I'm like, it doesn't matter if you work for, a garbage company. And those companies pay good, you know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot of ways to get, a fair and very lucrative, livable wage, There's a way to kind of get this. And it's not necessarily, when I think of it, I'm like, it's not that it's hard to get good paying work. It's hard to kind of make a shift. It's hard to kind of think about the training processes and taking classes and, seminars and, hands-on training and all these types of things. For some people, they might want more of an intellectual job versus a hands-on job. But things when I started looking into different types of fields, because my friend turned me on to the idea of trades. And I was like, he's making a lot of good money. He lives in Poway. He's able to afford his own apartment. It's nice, and a nice, safe, really incredible area. And, he didn't go to college for ever and get, an advanced degree. And, he wasn't doing all that, He was just, yes, he was in the military, and I'm not saying that that's not good work. He was in the military and had a career starting there, but after that, he went and became an electrician. He turned me on to this idea of appliance repair, and I was like, okay, I'm not motivated to do specifically that, but I was saying, if there's something in tech, not like refrigerators and whatnot, but if there's some kind of field in tech where it would be possible to work I'd be much more willing to, get work in tech, like computer repairs, that kind of thing. And then I found other types of tech work through what he kind of along those lines, but not like actual like hands-on repair stuff. And so I was like, okay, and so that's kind of the route I'm taking. And I'm like, okay, it's way better money, even starting better money than what I would have been making as a non-licensed clinician at the job options that I have, working for community mental health at the places where I've had plenty of experience. Like, there's really no way for me to get more than like 30 something bucks an hour. That's just not gonna happen. And before that, there was no way for me to get even up to like 20 bucks an hour. Like, I didn't know anyone making $20 an hour. One person told me they were making like 24, 25 an hour, and this was like in 2018, 2019. And I'm like, that's just how it was in San Diego. That's just how those jobs were. Now, there were other sites that were paying more, but they weren't paying in the 30s, 40s range. Now, there are sites now that are paying in the 30 range, 40s range, but the places where I have the opportunities to get hired, or I guess rather I should call it rehired, because they're places I had worked at before that they said anytime if I ever want to come back, I can just tell them and they'll give me a job on the spot. Both sites, it's like if I were to take a job from either of those sites, unless they change their contract, I would never make more than 40 an hour. And the reality of it is, a job like that kind of, it kind of tugs at the strings of things that I'm naturally good at, that I'm naturally inclined to do. I like working in psych. I like doing therapy. I like doing groups. I like doing work with people in poverty, with people who are kind of like underserved, downtrodden types of groups of people who need the help and support, and providing compassionate, quality support to those people. That's what I like doing, is like trying to help people, get to their goals, and also trying to, motivate people and things like that. Like, I really enjoy that. And so, I worked in the field for a while because I was getting my needs met, not financially, but, on the end of naturally, it kind of came natural to me. Like, I was good at the work. I understood what I was doing. It didn't take a lot of I don't know, just naturally I kind of understood the process of what I was doing and how to help people get to where they needed to get, and then seeing them, reach their goals or getting closer to their goals, and being able to kind of do things that they never thought they'd be able to do, and them feeling like their lives are improving in some ways. I really like being a part of that, it was worth not getting a lot of money just to be part of that process. That's what I did every day. I was part of that process. And yes, there was a bunch of stuff I didn't like to deal with, but every job's going to have stuff that you don't like to deal with, right? There's not going to be any job that you can take and be like, okay, I love every single thing, every single task that I have to do. Whether it's the phone calls or the following up or the mailing stuff or filing paperwork or whatever little tedious task, some certain meetings or whatever. You might come across stuff that you just don't like, that you just don't prefer. And that's natural, that's normal. But, the more I thought of it, I was like, realistically, it's not hard to make that much money and not have to spend that much time. You can spend less than a year in a training program that you can even get money to pay for it. You don't even have to pay $15,000, $20,000. You can pay $5,000. You can get stipends. You can get training for free. You can get training for hundreds, in the range of hundreds of dollars, or even for free, places where you can intern or, do that kind of thing and just learn the skills and then just work your way up. Like money wise, if you're looking at the dollar amount, it's possible to get close to making six figures, making like $75,000, $90,000 a year without a college degree. It is possible. It is completely possible to do that. And, when I started thinking of it, I was like, okay, I do have a lot of friends that state, the same as I do. I have these financial goals. I want to live in these certain cities in Southern California, and I cannot afford to do that, And I look at it and I'm like, I have a lot of friends that are older than me, like in their late 40s, maybe kind of early 50s, and I'm like, this stuff isn't rocket science. Anybody can do it, It's just, do you want to do it? Do you have the motivation and the willpower to do it? Those are different questions than, can I make $75,000 to $90,000 a year? Within 2 to 3 years, a person can be making at least that, if not more, and possibly within even like a year, be making at least like $50,000, if not more than that, $50,000, $60,000 easily, just with some training and some experience, and then just doing the job and working in the field. And, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, the psychology behind it all, some people think certain things like not having a degree is risky. Some people think, I want to follow the tradition of having this degree and all these things. And it's cool, but it's like, time is money sometimes too. And if you're trying to reach goals fast, maybe getting a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, isn't like the fastest method to do that. Now there's a lot of maybe cultural ideas of prestige and things like that people might want. I'm not saying that's the only reason people get degrees, that they want people to like call them a certain title or like have a certain title. Like I think a lot of people do get degrees just because they want to be, they want to prove, like when I was in grad school, I wanted to prove to myself, kind of to other people as well, who were often telling me that I couldn't do things, but I wanted to prove that, some of these ideas around my own intellect, intelligence, cognitive abilities, I wanted to challenge those to the fullest, because I was like, some things I do find easy, and I can just delve into topics about religion or, different types of things where I was like, these aren't easy kinds of topics, like tech stuff and things like that, to have interest in. They're not like simple. I can learn to program and do all these like coding things and all this kind of stuff. I could do that for fun. For me, I would find things like that to be fun, entertainment. It was just like what I did at the time for fun. And then like I would still be struggling with just like reading assignments and taking multiple choice quizzes. It's like, when you think of it, it's like, well, that isn't hard. That stuff wasn't hard. I wasn't doing anything that challenging. I was making it a little challenging on myself, but I wasn't doing anything really that challenging. It really wasn't that hard, for me to do, because I had the motivation behind myself to do it. And I was like, well, if I can do these things, why do I limit myself in these other areas? And a lot of it's just mental. It's like, I just mentally would limit myself in certain areas, so I maybe wouldn't get good grades, or in certain types of classes, or maybe would have like a deficit in certain types of skills, and didn't really have strengths in certain areas where it's like, well, I know how to learn and I know how to focus on tedious tasks and be very intentional and like reach my goals with learning things in an educational way, in some things, but I have to be motivated to want to do it. If it's going to be really difficult, the motivation wasn't always there. And so those were some things that I was kind of thinking of kind of yesterday and today, like not judging my friends and stuff, but when I thought about things with my friends, I was like, okay, I have some friends that are like in their 50s that, they're kind of not where they want to be financially. They're totally capable. I've never seen any of these people not have good work ethic, But even though they might say, oh, I want to buy a house, oh, I want to do this, oh, I want to do that, they're not really making the moves they need to make to actually get there, you know? And it's like, you know, I know for myself, you know, fear comes into play. I know a lot of stuff comes into play. Fear, motivation, anxiety, just kind of just general stuff, you know. It's all a mental game, and, you know, getting money isn't that hard. You know, it's the motivation behind it that's hard, and managing it with that motivation to reach those goals that's hard. It's not hard to make money. It's not hard to enter a field and start getting paid a lucrative, you know, amount, you know, to reach financial goals. That is not hard. Like, we tell ourselves it's hard, but it's not really that hard, you know. There's a lot of tech type classes people can take that aren't really that hard. They even have payment plans, and it's like, yeah, it's not like the easiest thing on the face of the planet, but it's not as hard as like getting an MD or getting a doctorate, or it's not that lengthy. You're not going into that much debt. Like, it's not that hard, you know. And so, you know, I kind of had to be realistic with myself about it the other day, and I was like, you know, it's not that hard to get to the financial goals. It's just, you know, it's easy to hold ourselves back. It's easy to just be like, well, you know, I'm just not going to take the steps I need to take to get there. And I kind of noticed it in talking to one of my friends, who I was just like, are you ever going to switch fields? Are you ever going to move from your area? And they're like, nah, like, I'm just going to retire at this job. And I'm just kind of like, okay, but it's like, you know, it's not like a good job necessarily. And like, can you retire? You know, like, I know this person doesn't have like a very extensive savings and like retirement account or anything, so it's kind of like, okay, like, is that really gonna work? And, you know, I know poverty is real. Like, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, you can just get up and do it. Like, a lot of it, you know, there is, I'm not saying poverty is always related to mental health, but it's gonna be hard not to be depressed if you don't have enough of your basic needs met, and including having debt or health problems, you know. And I'm not saying everyone in poverty has those experiences, but, you know, sometimes there are ways out of these situations. And I think taking a realistic look at it, you know, it's possible to get the money. You know, it's possible to just switch jobs and just get money. Like, it's not that hard. People do it in weeks, you know. In some training programs, they do it in weeks. Can get certifications and just start working at jobs that, you know, maybe they might have to do like the 90-day probationary period and stuff, and maybe getting paid less then. But after that, it's like within a year, some people are even making six figures right away. You know, it's like, that's good money, you know. And I don't know, like, sometimes it just takes that leap. You know, if you have a backup plan and you can go back to your previous job at any time, you know, that's my situation. And it's like, well, what do I have to lose by jumping into something else, you know? But I do know it's a challenge. For me, it's more of a mental challenge to get there, because I can see what I need to do, but it's like, I'm not doing it. I know I'm not doing it. So yeah, just being real about it, being honest about it, trying to understand internally, like cognitive, emotionally, mentally, you know, psychologically, kind of what's going on there. You know, what is at the root of it all, you know. That, I think, is the harder part to figure out as far as getting money. It's like, some people want to keep pushing. Like, I was in a field where I was like, I'd rather keep pushing in this, knowing that I'm never going to make past a certain pay rate, with the hopes that maybe I'll ask them at a certain time and they'll maybe do me a solid, because they've done that to some people. It's not common, but I've known 2 or 3 people, maybe 2 people, that they've kind of let the rules slide and kind of given them more money than anyone else I've ever heard. But I'm like, that's not the norm. That's not how they really do things. And when I did put myself out there and asked, and I was like, well, if you want me back, you're going to have to meet these demands because I literally can't comfortably move back without roommates. And they were like, nope. And I was like, well, sorry, then no. Like, I'm just not going to take it. And it's a fallback plan, if what I'm doing doesn't work out or whatever, I can always go back and do one of these jobs. But I don't want to. And it's hard to get out of. And I don't know, like it's not, I don't know. It's easy to think of it as harder than it is. But sometimes it takes like stepping back, looking at the picture. You're like, what helps me is not in the judgmental way at all, but looking at other people's lives and kind of seeing, okay, where am I parallel with them on these things and how am I thinking similarly? Like when I look at someone else's life, it's easier for me to tell, like, okay, is this field a field anyone can do? Is this field something that, is appropriate? Is this training program something that anyone can do? When I look at other people in my life, I'm like, is there someone that I think would have a problem with it or trouble doing it? And it's none of that. It's just, it's hard to, like, I see people, I have friends that get jobs. They get a lot of jobs. They get multiple different jobs. They're easily able to get jobs, but then it's like, when it comes to like a training program that would have taken them like a month or two to get the amount of money that they're getting now working for 2 jobs, it's like, you could have been just 2 months, go train, get the job, 1 job, work 40 hours a week instead of working 80 hours a week, and just get 1 job, but it's easier to kind of go with what we think we know and not change anything. And I'm definitely noticing that pretty hardcore, lately. Like, that's kind of my experience, is the shift, is a psychological challenge. It's nothing else. It's just me having to deal with me and what's going on with me every day. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, and that's why they don't want to change to something that might be more lucrative for them to meet their financial needs. It might be, just that. So, that's the reality of it. Sometimes, that's not an extensive example, but, I think it covers what most people experience. Like, it's not the money necessarily. Like, oh, my job doesn't pay enough. That's not really what it is. It's the money's out there. It's just a matter of going out and getting the money, getting the training and the job that pays the money, and doing what it takes to have to do that, versus staying where it's comfortable because we already know what we're doing and don't want to have to learn something new or switch up our day schedule or meet new staff or have new bosses and be in this whole different system and environment and, field that's like, I didn't go to school for this, like whatever it may be, but it helps to think about what aspects are psychological. That's really going to be one of the more helpful things, because there are a lot of jobs out there, trades and jobs that, have quick certifications that might not even cost a lot of money. And, that's kind of, if you want the money, it's out there, you can just do it. It's definitely possible. But it's not easy. It's easier to not do it. It's easier to sit back and, think of all the ways it can go wrong or think of all the challenges that are coming up and just sit and think about it and let that wear you out to the point that you can't even like study. That's what I experience. I'll be worrying about stuff and stressing about stuff that might be happening in like 6 months. Hasn't even happened yet. And it'll drain all my energy to study for a day or two. And it's like, I could have just been done with this, whatever I was doing, gotta get my head focused, but that's it for now. I'll post the daily update as well. All right. My daily from probably the evening of May 3rd, into May 4th, which is today. Lunchtime today. So from around dinner time yesterday to lunchtime today. So last, like, on the 3rd, I was kind of not too pleased, I guess I could say, that we were eating dinner pretty late. We ate around 7:30 p.m. Mind you, I usually eat dinner around 4:30 p.m. or somewhere between 4:30 and 5:30 p.m. So I had prepared snacks. It was like a single slice of this cauliflower crust pizza that someone in the family had refrigerated from something they had previously eaten, and then a Koya protein shake. I had like half of it. I had the other half of it for today's snack. So yeah, I mean, I ate dinner, felt pleasant about the food. We had this oxtail. It was always delicious. But there's something with the cooking, I don't know if it's red meat or if it's I don't know if it's red meat or if it's oil that seems to kind of do something to my respiratory, my lungs, my sinuses. It kind of agitates things. And I've been having that situation come up, excuse me, quite often. But you hear, I get this cough, and it almost always seems to be after a day that I've eaten something that, that my folks have cooked, as far as, like, usually my dad cooking, because he does a lot of saute meals, or even like slow cooker meals. Like, the meat usually is slow cooked, and while I appreciate it, it's just, I can't be having like weird problems like once a week or whatever. Like, it's just too much to have to manage. So I mean, I've definitely talked to my folks about kind of like, hey, like, I have my own preferred type of food that I eat. I'm not saying that I totally eat healthy all the time. I mean, I'll have McDonald's once a week or something, but overall, I eat pretty clean. Not too high calorie meals, not too much carbs, not too much fat, not too much red meat. Like, I don't really eat red meat at all. Other than, okay, so that's not true, because if I eat McDonald's, I might get like a cheeseburger or two. But, I try not to eat more than that of red meat, and I don't always go to McDonald's. But that's kind of like my main vice right now is the McDonald's. So, but yeah, like, I'm trying. Oh, now it's gonna get hot. So basically, I'm trying to, still work on my health. And everything along those lines. But, like, I'm grateful that, I have people that are willing to cook for me and cook stuff that I like. I mean, oxtail isn't cheap, but the heavy oil is just too much. And I do notice the next day I always feel kind of poorly. Like, I've been having sinus and kind of like throat clearing issues pretty much since last night. Since after I ate, it started kind of kicking in, like, before I went to sleep. So that's not good, but I'm trying to keep track of things and not be too like be strict but not so strict that I'm like depriving myself. But I want to see health results every week. Like I want to feel good every week, and I want to see changes in my health with the efforts I've been making. So it is a challenge, because I do kind of have a bit of an obligation to, engage with family. And sorry guys, I hang out in parking lots a lot, so that's how I kind of get out of the house. Just kind of find a place to chill outdoors so I can record, but it's a little challenging because people always want to freaking come up and park like right next to you. So yeah, that's kind of a little, that's why I keep always rolling up my windows, rolling down my windows. Like I'm not trying to decrease the quality of these recordings, but it is kind of hard to record when there's people just always around, because I'm in a public space. So yeah, so there's that. I think I see a kind of shady area, so I'm gonna go take that spot actually. So yeah, excuse me while I drive. I'm gonna park in some shade. So yeah. Somebody's over here working on these cars. There's a lot where I always park. Well, not always, but one of the lots I park at and hang at. There's a car that's always there with a cover on it. And it looks like there's a bunch of other stuff, like a lawn, like a kind of like a foldable beach chair, a tire. In the tire, there's some bags, some belongings in there. So I wonder if during the rain, this car got, I'm wondering if during the rain, with the wind, the cover got blown off, because it looks like it's partly blown off and the wind's still picking it up. I feel like the cover's gonna blow off of this thing. But I don't know. The other day I saw somebody get in the car. They went under the cover and opened the car and were in there for like a few minutes, and then I saw them kind of crawl back out from under it. So it seems to be somebody who works here. I don't know if they live in their car or if it's just there. It doesn't seem to ever get towed. I haven't seen any citations on it. I've seen police officers roll through this lot a bit. Like, this part of the city where I live in, there's, it's LA, so there's police. They just patrol everywhere anyways, and so I see them kind of patrolling on a regular basis, and like not like too many times a day or anything, but you know, it happens. Like they're there. There's a presence, and they seem to see it and not be concerned. So I don't really know. The car looks like it would run. Like visibly, it's a sports car, and it looks like it's in good condition. But I don't really know. I've never seen it move from that spot. So I don't know. I don't know how long it's been there, but it's been there at least a few weeks. So I don't know. But yeah. So yeah. Last night, I guess, you know, I was mostly alright. Just I went to sleep. And when I went, you know, I went to sleep kind of early, had some melatonin. I had like half of one of them around 9 something. The second half of it, which would have been up to 3 milligrams of melatonin, that second half of it I had around maybe close to 10. And then I don't remember when, but I had a full one because I still wasn't falling asleep. So I had 6 milligrams of melatonin total, as well as the other supplements that are kind of mixed into that gummy. And you know, I knocked out around 10:30. Dreamt a lot, had a lot of dreams, and then was woken up around 3 something because of the storm, and you know, the sound of the rain and everything kind of woke me. And I got a little warm too because the heater was on because it was raining and the window was open. And so I turned down the heater, went to the bathroom, couldn't go back to sleep. I was kind of up, not feeling great, but was kind of up. And that was at about like 5.5 hours of sleeping because I had started playing that audio track when I was falling asleep, and so I saw that it was at about 5.5 hours. So I stopped the track. I stopped the track because I was how do I say this? I don't know. I just stopped it. Like I stopped playing it. Because I was like, well, I'm not really sleeping right now. And I kind of use it to track if I'm sleeping. So I wasn't really asleep actively at that time when I was awake. And I laid there for a while, tried to fall asleep, and I was like, I'm not going to fall asleep. So I just got up and watched this. I watched the most recent Jade Fox video. I think it was like an anniversary with her and Jaden, kind of talking about questions about relationships or something that they were taking from their audience. And I guess it's part 1 of 2, and so there's going to be a second part because they said there were a lot of questions that they didn't really get to. And so yeah, there's that. And then I basically went from there to basically went from there to eventually kind of falling back to sleep around 4 something. It wasn't very restful, and then I slept till probably like 7:30, I think, 7:20, 7:15, or somewhere around there. Woke up, I was like, I don't really feel rested. But the track had like about a minute left, so I had slept total about 8 hours by that point. But I didn't really feel like getting up, having coffee that early, so I just laid there for a while till like 8:30 or so, and then I actually started getting up. Even though I didn't want to, I told myself I was gonna lay down till like 8:45 or 8:50, and then I was like, nah, just get up now. So I got up. This is this morning, May 4th. I got up, kind of started my morning. Had some egg bites from Sprouts, half an avocado, coffee. It was kind of bulletproof coffee. Not a lot of MCT oil, not a lot of ghee, but a little bit. And then still that mushroom coffee by Four Sigmatic, the one with the lion's mane and the, what do you call it, the chaga. And so, yeah, that's like 50 milligrams of caffeine. And just mostly protein and some good fat for breakfast. And some strawberries. I had strawberries too, but not really carbs. I don't know if ghee has carbs. It probably does, but not really any carbs. So maybe that's why my energy is not like super pumped. I wasn't really having like a super pumped day. And I figured, I was like, well, I already don't feel good, so, well, I don't not feel good, but I was like, instead of leaving early and studying outside the house, I was like, I decided just to study at the house. So I studied at the house this morning after breakfast. Kind of had a hard time with it. Was texting friends and kind of on Instagram a little bit and like a little YouTube. Just kind of, chatting online with people and not really focused on studying, but was studying. I basically studied to the point where I was just like, I don't really think I'm focused anymore. And so it was almost lunch, and I was like, let me beat the lunch rush. So I decided to have McDonald's for lunch today, grabbed McDonald's, and then came over to this lot to eat and do some recording just to get myself out of the house. But that's kind of how I roll. I'm like, if I'm home, I don't want to be doing a whole lot of stuff that's going to cost me a whole lot of money. I got this Vegas trip coming up too, so I'm trying not to spend a lot. I'm debating if I might go to a Cinco de Mayo gay bar event tomorrow, but I don't really know. Oh, and I forgot to mention, like while I was studying, I had a little bit of C4, a little bit, not even, like just enough to coat the bottom of the, the bottom of the little scooper with the powder, just enough to cover the whole bottom of it. So it wasn't really a lot. I don't even know how to dose that, how many milligrams of caffeine that is. Like, you're not really supposed to have it on the days when you have other caffeinated beverages, but I kind of was like, I kind of just need my energy to kind of pump up a little bit so I can focus on studying, and then when I do some podcasting, focus on that, because I was feeling pretty foggy. And that's been a theme. Like, I've been feeling pretty foggy. Most days, it's kind of hard to shake. I've got some doctor's appointments coming up and stuff, but I'm basically just gonna chill here until, basically till I have to go to the bathroom pretty much, and then I'll head back to the house, and probably get some rest, and then study for the rest of the evening pretty much. I try to get out of this area by like 2:45 or so it gives me enough time to get 2:45, giving me plenty of time to get back to the house, so that I'm like, okay. And I didn't get gas this week. I tried to get like $10 of gas, but I might just go get $10 of gas before I go home. I don't really know. So I might do that today. Got a nice free car wash from the rain, so I'm glad I didn't pay for a car wash this week, because the rain did a decent job this time. And yeah, I That's basically all I've been doing. That's basically my plan for today. I haven't really been writing down every single thing that I've been doing like I was the other weeks. Let me see, when was the last time I did that? It looks like, well, maybe on like May 1st, I kind of did it. I just wrote like a list of what I did. So yeah, and then Saturday, April 29th, I wrote a little bit of it. So probably since April 28th, I haven't really been writing down the actual like play-by-play of my day as far as timestamps of things. Because I do kind of have a rhythm, especially since I've been kind of getting out of the house for quite a few hours. And I don't know, maybe I'm tired out this week because of the 3 days that I left the house. What was it, 3 days? Maybe it was 3 days. I think it was Saturday. I think it was Monday and Tuesday for sure. Wednesday, I can't remember. No, Wednesday was yesterday. I stayed home because Tuesday I had pulled something a bit of a back muscle at the gym. So I was like, let me just make sure I force myself to kind of relax. Plus, it was Weed Wednesday, so I was like, let me just do what I gotta do, like stick to the plan, force rest, and I don't know, like I don't feel like I feel rested, but in some ways I feel kind of foggy too, so I don't know. And I don't know, it might be the cannabis, but I don't know, because I have been using cannabis products pretty regularly, not like every single day, but pretty regularly for a while. But it might be the strain of my vape pen. Like, that's the only thing I can kind of think of why I've been so foggy lately. If it's not something other than that, I really don't know what it is. Like, my mood isn't like sad necessarily. Like, I'm not like, I can't say definitively that I'm not depressed. Like, I feel like my energy is like not where I want it to be. Like, I'm still having trouble getting in my workouts and stuff, but I don't feel like my energy's like pumped up. Like, I don't wake up feeling like super refreshed, super alert, super like, high, fast paced kind of like ability. Like, I'm kind of like groggy and foggy most days, and I just kind of get up and I'm just like, and the other days this week felt a little easier for me. Today was the first day I was like, I don't really have the pure motivation to do what it is that I had set out to do as far as studying. And I don't want to take this stupid practice test tomorrow, but I also am kind of frustrated with the situation of, not being in work right now, and, I don't know, like, I'm kind of at a, like, I don't know, I get in this kind of like fuck it mode. I was talking to a friend about this, saying like I'm kind of in a fuck it mode, and that's kind of like a good state to be, because even though I'm not like purely motivated, I'm also not like so demotivated that I can't do anything. Like, I'm still like making strides and kind of getting the bare basics done of what I set out to do every day. It's definitely not like coming easy. Like, the way I felt Monday compared to the way I felt today, Thursday, is so different. Like, that microdose of Blue Meanie strain psilocybin was really impactful and helpful for me. And today I don't feel that way. And it's possibly just something as simple as not sleeping well. Because I did sleep. I slept 8 hours, but it wasn't uninterrupted sleep. And I did dream a lot, though, which was weird. The night before, I had kind of an unpleasant dream, which isn't normal for me. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember waking up and being like, that wasn't a good dream. But it wasn't anything specific that stood out that was bad. I just remember being overwhelmed and stressed in the dream, but I don't remember why. I don't remember like what the details were. I just remember like I woke up and I was a little bit like that wasn't pleasant. I didn't like that, but I guess I'm lucky. I don't have bad dreams often, but I also haven't been dreaming as much as I was. Like there was a point where I was just having dreams a lot and like very vivid dreams. It might be because I don't take CBN or CBD at night anymore, because I did switch to melatonin for the most part once I ran out of CBD products, so maybe that's what it is. I'd have to maybe check the details of the timeline on that to make for sure, but I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to really tell. Like, I really don't know, in all honesty. But yeah, I've been trying to chill. Just kind of, follow the game plan, make plans that seem very realistic and doable and able to be accomplished. And great, here comes some other person parking right next to me. But yeah, so yeah, that's kind of what I've been kind of dealing with. It hasn't been the easiest, but in a lot of ways it's easier than it was. Like, I definitely notice, there has been some improvement to the ease of things. Like, it's gotten easier. Things have become a little bit easier. Like, compared to some other days before where it was like, I literally couldn't work out. I literally couldn't exercise. I literally couldn't eat healthy. I was just like buying Uber Eats all the time because I couldn't even stand to be like in a shared space with any family members, and just irritable all the time. Like, I don't really feel that irritability as much lately. Like, I kind of do, but not too much. Like, I do find myself kind of like a little bit back to my normal, kind of like cracking jokes with my folks every now and then, like saying a couple things, laughing a little bit, a little, not a lot, but a little. But I definitely am feeling a little less grumpy and irritable. Like, I don't feel like I have to completely avoid being around people just so I can make sure I'm not like disrupting anybody else's peace of mind and like being like short and snapping at people and stuff. Like, I do feel better on that end a little bit. Like, it's definitely noticeable, but I still don't prefer it. I still don't prefer to be like very interactive, but it isn't as hard as it was. Like, I've for sure noticed that it's not as hard as it was. Like, and I don't know when that changed, but it's definitely changed. I've kind of felt like some things are getting slightly easier, but I don't know. Like, it's kind of hard for me to avoid comparing how I feel lately, how I feel now, how I felt like way back, like in December of 2022. Comparing how I felt then, right before ending my job and stuff, like, and how overwhelmed and foggy I was then, where I literally couldn't even work. Like, I remember there was a day literally where I was at a hotel because it was one of my last days, like during my last week, and like just literally sitting there staring at my computer, like I was doing nothing. I finished nothing. I got like nothing done. And I did have some other days like that too, where I was like, well, the internet's down. or our system was down for like 2 or 3 days. So I remember back then, like I think that was in October, and I remember back then being like so overwhelmed with work that I just checked out. I was like, I'll wait and see if any incoming calls come in, and I would take calls from clients, but I wasn't like making outgoing calls, which was fine. Like, I had good communication with management, and that was totally fine. They're like, it does make sense, if the system's down, to not like rack up work for yourself and then have to go back in and like back enter a whole bunch of like multiple days worth of stuff. But after like the second or so day of that, it's like, okay, they were like, well, you're just gonna have to back enter it, like get to the point where you have to back enter it. And then they were like, don't just sit on it anymore. But yeah, we were allowed maybe a day or two to just kind of, do what we could do. Like, I wasn't avoiding clients, I wasn't avoiding like incoming sessions or anything that had already been planned. But if it wasn't planned, I wasn't going out of my way to just like call and check in and stuff. And that was fine. They were like, that's fine. They didn't really mind, giving us that, that kind of freedom and flexibility. But I do remember just like knocking out in the middle of the day, a couple of those days, just being like, just like falling asleep in the middle of what would have been my shift because I wasn't getting any calls, and that was normal. It was a slow part of the season, and so when I compare that to lately, I'm like, I definitely feel better lately, overall. But then when I compare now and that ending chapter of 2022, comparing that to this and that to, maybe how I felt when I was doing well in grad school, like 9 or so years ago, like when I was in grad school and stuff, like, and how I was functioning, or like in the early days, not when everything was like falling apart, but yeah, I was definitely more energetic, more just like, I didn't have so many things stacked against me or so many things like interfering with my days. Like, I always had poor sleep. That's never been, I don't think I've ever really had like the best of sleep patterns. I think this is the first time in my life I've ever been actively tracking my sleep, like I mentioned, like using that 8 hour, audio track on my phone to like actually track how long I'm sleeping. Like, I have had like a smartwatch or like some phone app that kind of like tracks your sleep snoring, and if you rustle on your pillow, and like, and it shows you like spikes in time when you're, like not asleep or whatever, or when there's like noise in the background or whatever. It was a free app, and I used that like years ago, but I haven't used it lately. And then the smartwatch, like, it wasn't too accurate. Like, it would say stuff like, oh, you slept 4 hours, or you slept like 7 hours, or like anytime you would kind of like get up, it wouldn't really like start counting again. Like, it would just kind of, like, I don't know, like if you were just like laying there, so it would count like maybe the time that I was laying there from like 9:30 p.m. to like 10:30 p.m. and I would know. I was like, well, I was awake, like I wasn't sleeping, and it would have counted that as having slept. And then it's like, so it wasn't like super accurate. And I did use it for a while, but I remember leaving that watch on for a few days, and then I had some kind of weird issue on my wrist because it kind of, I guess it has like I don't know if it's a laser light or like an LED light, but there's some kind of light. I think it irritates the skin. Like, it kind of senses. It's like a sensor kind of light. I don't know what it's called, honestly, but I think it kind of interferes with, skin, and it kind of left this dark spot on my skin, like that kind of irritated my skin a little bit. And my aunt had mentioned just before that she got like a burn on her skin because she didn't take it off. And I didn't really know what she meant by like a burn until I started getting like an issue, and I was like, oh yeah, I got like a little, section of my skin kind of impacted by that too. So I stopped kind of relying on that smartwatch. Like, it's not the best. Like, it's good for some stuff. Like, it's kind of stylish, and it's good for the gym to kind of like, so I don't have to keep going in my phone and like writing down how long I spent doing stuff. But it's not too accurate all the time. So I mostly just use it at the gym now. I don't use it for like tracking sleep and all that. And it's not like the most comfortable to be wearing to bed either. Like, it's comfortable in the daytime when I'm out, but even like right now I'm not wearing it. Like, I wear it like pretty much specifically to the gym or as like an accessory when I go out. Just something that kind of I feel like it looks kind of nice, so it's like a small accessory for when I go out. But because I don't really have a lot of jewelry and stuff, but yeah, it's mostly what I've been dealing with lately, and then planning on starting some getting my healthcare sessions kind of scheduled. So that's kind of what I've been working on lately. I wanted to write a lot of music yesterday, but I didn't. But I did listen to a lot of music and watched some music-related shows and movies. I finished rewatching Straight Outta Compton, which I thought I had rewatched recently, but I didn't really remember it. So I was like, wow, like, I really didn't recall that movie very well. And then I started watching Boys in the Hood. I'm a little more than halfway through that, but I've seen it kind of more recently again. Like, I rewatch stuff a lot. I kind of just like it because, Ice Cube. And I was going to rewatch Friday as well. I might actually watch it tomorrow because tomorrow will be Friday. Like, if I don't go out for Cinco de Mayo, maybe I'll just stay home and watch Friday. But I don't know. I'm kind of like, it's just weird. Like, I'm just like tired a lot, and it's really kind of strange, Like, some days I can tell that like having a more rested schedule is helping me, and I'm definitely feeling and seeing the benefits. And overall, I would say things are improving, but it's just the little stuff, which is why I like to talk about it daily. I'm not, like I said before, like I might not keep recording these all the time, but it's easier than like writing it down for me, because I realize I don't really go back and review it. There's something about talking about it, like mentioning it, recording about it, audio recording, that I kind of remember it a little bit more. And yeah, like, I have been seeing some improvements. Like, I do remember not that long ago saying that, yeah, I feel like really kind of shitty, and like, I don't want to be like irritated with people and stuff, and I was really feeling kind of like not okay, being around others. But I feel pretty good, lately. I feel like alright. Like, I don't feel like that good, but I feel like alright. Monday I felt great though. Monday was probably the best I felt in a really long time. And yeah, today, it is later in the week though, so I gotta give myself that. It's like, it's not out of the norm to feel a little bit depleted and, more stressed and overwhelmed and slow. And it's not like I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm not just sitting around watching movies all day or Netflix or whatever. Like, I've been pretty actively podcasting and, studying. I mean, recording these things does take effort. Like, I have to sit and, like, think. And even when I'm not at my best, with, my speaking, I do have to think and try to, like, focus on what I'm saying. And, like, it does take a lot of focus. But I think it helps because I do need to practice kind of my verbal skills, because I am pretty isolated and avoiding people, and so I do think that is kind of making it harder for me to, like, talk more. Like, I feel like wording of things doesn't really come as easily to me as it used to. But I'm also trying to pay attention to my caffeine intake, because, I don't want to get into a habit of having so much caffeine that, like, I start experiencing anxiety and just, caffeine crashes, irritability. For me, it just helps to have less caffeine in my system. So, yeah. But I guess, on that note, that was a lot to say, but that takes us up to May 4th, midday May 4th. So, yes, with that, thanks for listening.